On a cold night in May 2008, a young man named Brandon Swanson vanished from the face of the earth. No struggle was seen, no screams were heard, no witnesses ever came forward. And yet, for nearly an hour, Brandon was not silent. He was on the phone, talking, laughing, walking, and then, in a single moment, he said two words that would haunt his family forever. "Oh shit." The line went dead. Brandon Swanson was never seen again. Brandon was 20 years old, a college student, responsible, close to his parents. Not reckless, not the type to disappear without a reason. On the evening of May 13th, 2008, Brandon attended a small party with friends near Lind, Minnesota. It wasn't a wild night. No chaos, no violence, just a gathering of college kids winding down after finals. Brandon left the party just after midnight, driving his green Chevrolet Lumina. He planned to head back to his dorm at Minnesota West Community and Technical College. It was a familiar drive, one he had made before, but sometime after leaving, Brandon took a wrong turn. The roads in rural Minnesota are dark, flat, and confusing at night. Gravel roads stretch endlessly through farmland. Cornfields swallow sound. Ditches disappear into blackness. At around 1:15 a.m., Brandon's car went off the road and landed in a ditch. The car was stuck, but Brandon was not injured, and crucially, the car was still drivable. Instead of staying put, Brandon made a decision that would seal his fate. He called his parents. At 1:54 a.m., Brandon phoned his mother, Annette Swanson. He sounded calm, not panicked, not drunk, not afraid. He told her he'd driven into a ditch and needed help. He believed he was somewhere near Lind or Taunton. He was confident he knew where he was. His parents got dressed and immediately started driving to find him. Brandon stayed on the phone. For the next 45 minutes, Brandon spoke to both his mother and father as they tried to locate him. And this is where the story turns disturbing. Brandon insisted he could see the lights of Lind in the distance. His parents insisted they were in Lind, and they couldn't see him. They asked him to flash his headlights. Nothing. They honked their horn, no response. Somehow, they were not where Brandon thought he was. At one point, Brandon told his parents he could see a set of lights moving, likely their car. But his parents saw nothing. The phone call continued as Brandon decided to leave his vehicle and walk toward what he believed was the town. This decision would later be questioned endlessly, because once Brandon left that car, everything unraveled. As he walked, Brandon described his surroundings: gravel crunching under his feet, the sound of water nearby, fences, fields. At times, he joked with his parents. He laughed. He sounded normal. He even teased them for not finding him yet. This wasn't a man who believed he was in danger. This was a man who thought rescue was minutes away. But the longer the call went on, the stranger things became. Brandon said he was walking through fields, then through a ditch, then along what he thought was a road. His parents kept driving in circles, desperately trying to triangulate his location. At one point, Brandon said something chilling. He told them he could see a large structure nearby. Later, investigators would realize something horrifying. Brandon was not near Lind. He wasn't even close. He was over 25 miles away, near the Yellow Medicine River, a place filled with uneven terrain, deep water, tall grass, sinkholes, and abandoned properties. And Brandon had no idea. As the call passed the 45-minute mark, the tone subtly changed. Brandon became quieter, more focused. He told his parents he was trying to cross a fence. They heard the sound of metal clanking through the phone. Then suddenly, "Oh shit." Silence. The call dropped. Annette and Brian Swanson immediately tried to call him back. No answer. Again. No answer. Again. Straight to voicemail. Panic set in. They called the police. By the time authorities began searching, daylight was breaking, and Brandon Swanson was already gone. The search was massive. Local police, state troopers, search and rescue teams, dogs, helicopters. They searched for days, then weeks, then months. His abandoned car was eventually found, Not where Brandon thought it was, but near Porter, Minnesota. The car showed no signs of violence, no blood, no struggle, no damage consistent with a serious crash, just a car in a ditch. Investigators traced Brandon's phone signal. It confirmed the terrifying truth. Brandon had been walking in the opposite direction of where he thought he was. Every step he took moved him farther from safety. Search teams combed the area he was believed to be walking through. Fields were searched repeatedly, rivers were dragged, ditches were examined. Still, no body, no clothing, no phone, no trace. Years passed, no answers. And then, theories began to grow. Some believe Brandon fell into the Yellow Medicine River and drowned. The river is deceptively shallow in places and suddenly deep in others. At night, it would have been invisible. Others believe he fell into one of the many abandoned wells or sinkholes scattered across farmland. Many of these are unmarked and hidden by tall grass. Some believe hypothermia played a role. Temperatures dropped overnight and Brandon wasn't dressed for long exposure. But then there are the darker theories. Some suggest foul play, that Brandon may have encountered someone who heard him walking through the fields, someone who didn't want to be seen. Others believe Brandon may have fallen into a culvert or drainage pipe and been trapped. And some believe something even more unsettling, that Brandon is still out there, undiscovered, because the land swallowed him whole.
Of Brandon Swanson joining us from Minnesota. Thank you so much for joining us from Marshall, Minnesota, actually. First of all, I want to ask you, Ms. Swanson, you were on the phone with your son a large part of those early hours when you were trying to find him, and he was trying to find you. He wasn't hurt at all, right? I mean, the car went into a ditch, but he seemed to be okay.
Correct. He said he was fine, that he was not injured. And, in fact, when we did find his vehicle, there was no damage to it. It was simply muddy from being on a gravel road, but no damage to the vehicle.
What was it like that night to be going through this and so close to your son, but so far from your son?
Yeah, as Brandon tried to explain to us where his location was, and he was...
The most disturbing part of this case isn't the theories, it's the phone call. Because for nearly an hour, Brandon was alive, talking, walking, just minutes from help. And yet help never found him. His parents were right there, so close, and so impossibly far. Annette Swanson has replayed that call in her mind thousands of times, every word, every laugh, every pause. She wonders if there was something she missed, something she could have said, something that might have saved her son. But the truth is brutal. Brandon didn't know where he was, and the night didn't forgive that mistake. To this day, no remains belonging to Brandon Swanson have ever been found. No confirmation of death, no closure. Just a young man who walked into the darkness and never walked out. Somewhere in rural Minnesota, the land still keeps his secret. And somewhere in that silence, two words still echo. Oh shit. If this case disturbed you, you're not alone. Brandon Swanson didn't vanish in silence. He vanished while asking for help. What do you think happened after those last two words? Leave your theory in the comments below. Every detail matters. If you want more deep investigations, unsolved disappearances, and cases that refuse to make sense, like this video, subscribe to the Detective and share this story so it doesn't fade into silence. Because some mysteries aren't meant to be forgotten, and some voices still deserve to be heard.